All right, ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize about the noise in the background. There was a phone call I had to take, so I do apologize about that. So here we go for part number 2 on WCW September 30th, 1996 Retro Review. Where we left off at, I believe, was Hugh Morris and Brad Armstrong. Hugh Morris actually was the one that picked up the victory here. This match was fucking complete, utter boredom. There was nothing exciting about this whatsoever. I really could give two shits about it. It was really that bad. Give it like a 1 out of 5 stars, just to be nice. Arn Anderson versus Chris Jericho. Uh, Jericho loses this match to Arn Anderson. Nice technical wrestling match here. Another 3.5 out of 5 stars. Definitely wasn't disappointed with this match. Was a bit surprised that Arn Anderson picked up the victory, since Jericho has been on a roll the last couple episodes that I have watched. But yeah, Jericho was stopped in his tracks by Arn Anderson with his winning streak and picked up his first loss, from what I've noticed. So, I mean, this match wasn't all that bad either. Definitely a 3 out of 5 stars. Nothing too shabby there. There was also some backstage heat with Arn Anderson, Chris Benoit's wife at the time, with Miss Elizabeth, and as well Chris Benoit himself. They were all pretty upset with the fact that Elizabeth has been expressing feelings for her ex-husband at the time of who she divorced, and they're starting to wonder her allegiance to the Four Horsemen, whether she's really part of the group or she just wants to leave. And they're very concerned about that and want the truth to come out of her. Like, are you wanting to be a horseman or you don't want to be? Make up your freaking mind. Randy Savage is not a horseman. He ain't somebody you should be showing affection to or giving a rat's ass about, not to mention you're not even with him anymore, and yet you're playing like you still have feelings for him. You're a horseman, aren't you, or aren't you? So, I mean, that was a pretty good little storyline going on within the WCW uh, company. But the whole episode really, like I said, is so surrounded by the NWO. That was the major problem. I mean, if you're going to make it surrounded by the NWO, I mean, like, have interaction between the NWO and WCW. There wasn't, this whole episode wasn't even, there was no interaction between WCW and NWO all that much. I mean, there's conversations about it amongst the announcers, but there's nothing like one-on-one matches that help develop the story and create controversy. It's just them seeming to like take over the show, and that's about it, which is not bad. I don't think it's wrong what they did back then. It did help develop the storyline, but have the NWO have involvement in matches, to have one-on-one matches with other WCW superstars, if that's what you're planning on doing. I do understand that probably later on, during as the episodes go on, I mean, slowly but surely they go about doing it. But my God, I mean, they've been doing this like invasion with the NWO for like since like July or so during this year. I mean, come on, why didn't they just pull the trigger on this a lot sooner? I mean, this was just a little too drawn out for me anyway. I don't know about other people. I mean, it's good storyline development, but way too slow. I mean, come on, just get it going. I mean, you look at the WCW ECW alliance versus WWF. They took about a month or two, but they gave them the slow introduction into the company, and they pretty much gave you the idea that they were going to have their own show, which eventually, of course, didn't turn out that way, and that was simply because of the low-level talent that they had coming out of WCW. They really pretty much got the scrap talent out of WCW and ECW. I mean, Canyon, he wasn't all that big of a deal. DDP was a big deal. Booker T was another one, but not to get off the subject, you know what I mean. But that storyline would have worked out very well if they would have had better talent on the other side of WCW and ECW's company. Unfortunately, they did, but that ain't here or there. I'm just going a little off topic and using an example, comparing it to this. Lex Luger defeated the Wall Street. This match, anytime you talk to me about Lex Luger, I just want to cringe. I never liked the guy's in-ring skills. I think he was a horrible performer. He was very dull, very boring. Why WCW kept him as long as they did and kept him in the level of guys like Goldberg, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, and all those guys. And even those guys I just mentioned, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, and all of them, to even be in the main event roster as long as they did and not help develop the young talent is beyond me, but that's the reason why they're out of business. So pretty much, I mean, like I said, anytime you talk to me about Lex Luger, you're not going to hear positive comments come out of my mouth about him. He is an absolute horrible worker. He cannot produce a good match. He does the same thing over and over again. Gee, I wonder who that could be. Oh, yeah, Roman Reigns. Roman Noodle, or whatever the fuck you joked out thing you want to say about Roman Reigns. But, yeah, Roman Reigns reminds me of Lex Luger a lot. Very untalented, he can't do a fucking thing on the mic. I mean, and that's what Roman Reigns is. He's the Lex Luger of WWE. And anytime you want to introduce me to a guy like Lex Luger or anyone the same talent as Lex Luger, please keep him the fuck away from me. I don't want to know from the dude. I don't want to see him on my TV. He's fucking boring. I think Big Show, Kane, Undertaker, all those big guys are a hell of a lot better talent than Lex Luger. They're not talented in one area. They're talented in another. Lex Luger and Roman Reigns are talented in any area whatsoever. So give me a fucking break. Lex Luger, picks up the victory against Wall Street with the torture rack. The match ends in 7 minutes and 23 seconds. I give it, just to be nice, a 2 out of 5, I guess. The Faces of Fear, Ming and the Barbarian with Jimmy Hart defeated the Rock and Roll Express with Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson. It wasn't too big of a deal of a match to me. Another 2 out of 5 stars. Match quality-wise, this was just a very stale, boring type of thing. I mean, it wasn't horrible. It just was not what you call the most entertaining kind of performances that happened on this episode. It was just pretty much WCW having matches, NWO having their small segments with the whole NWO paid announcement deal. And that's pretty much the whole show. It was just back and forth, WCW match here and there, and then all of a sudden a fucking NWO paid announcement with Hulk Hogan bragging about how the NWO is going to take over WCW. The Hollywood, you want to get involved in the movies, you can go to him. He pretty much was advertising himself like a politician, only in a dark matter. So, I mean, not a bad idea what they did, but it was just too repetitive, kind of boring. And that's really the whole trouble with this episode. No interaction whatsoever between WCW and NWO except for verbal segments, and that's about it. And they weren't even looking at each other face to face. Thought it was kind of cool that Hulk Hogan, though, had his son sitting there throughout some of those segments that they were doing in a hotel room, showing he's a great example of a father and what a real piece of shit he truly was. But anyway, getting off of that rant on Hulk Hogan, he still was a very big figure in wrestling. I can't deny that, but as a person, I cannot stomach him whatsoever. Chris Benoit was in the main event against Rick Steiner. This was the last match that happened on the show. This match was okay. I didn't have too many complaints about this. I mean, as I said, they were just the matches were just kind of stale. But Chris Benoit picked up the victory over Rick Steiner. Not bad. I would definitely give it a three or 3.5 out of 5 stars for a match. So I wasn't too down on this main event match. It was okay. It was kind of short though. It was only 4 minutes and 25 seconds. So nothing really extraordinarily big. No storyline progression within the characters of WCW outside of complaining and bitching and moaning about how, ooh, my God, NWO is not taking over this place. You got fucking Eric Bischoff calling them a bunch of scumbag lowlives. He leaves the announce desk the entire rest of the show for the last hour, which is his spot where he's supposed to be working with Bobby the Brain Heenan, and instead he's actually claiming that he's going to talk with the NWO. Gee, I wonder what will happen next, don't you, huh? Yeah. Anyway, this episode, again, was average at best. It's just that there's no storyline development happening. If you're not having any storyline developing between NWO and WCW, except verbal segments about how you feel about the other and what have you, or how you're going to take over the WCW, or how you're going to stop the NWO, and all your matches are just pointless things to fill in a card, that isn't exactly what I call a great show. I mean, it has based on what they had with the NWO portion, that was in the right step in the right direction. But they also should have been building around WCW storylines among WCW characters. So that's my only beef with this episode. Match wise, it was okay, stale a little bit. Some of the matches were really just fucking boring. Didn't really attract my attention. But I'll tell you what, if I had to choose between today's WWE Raws and WCW's Nitros from back then, I'll take WCW over that anytime, because at least the wrestling's fucking better. Well, actually, no, the wrestling is actually about even. Truthfully, the matter is, I think WWE's wrestling today is a lot better than what it used to be, but the storyline development isn't all that great in WWE, and this, it had realism to it. It felt real. It didn't feel childish, and that's the one good thing about WCW that I'll put it over on WWE's current product. So yeah, at this time, leave your comments and opinions down below. Also, if you'd like to leave any comments and opinions down below on part 1, go for it. But I would recommend watching both videos, part 1 and part 2. To get a full analysis on my opinion about this show. But definitely wasn't all that bad. If you're into decent, okay wrestling, but don't really care for the storylines, and you're okay with that, I would definitely check this episode out. It's September 30th, 1996. So I definitely would check it out if you're into some wrestling. I mean, you got to see some really great stars go up against some young upcoming stars as well. I mean, Arn Anderson versus Jericho was great. Alex Wright and Dean Malenko was outstanding. That was probably the most surprising match on the whole card. Eddie Guerrero and Jim Powers was okay. It was good technical wrestling that happened there, as I mentioned. And the WCW World Tag Team titles wasn't all that bad either. It just was kind of short and a little bit boring, sort of. But definitely, I would check that out. If you're interested in just checking out some regular wrestling, and those NWO paid announcements were pretty funny. And that's pretty much about it. So I thank you guys very much for watching. Again, leave your comments and opinions down below, and hit that subscribe button, guys. I love you guys. Thank you very much for watching. Whenever you take the opportunity to check this stuff out, I love doing it for you guys. Do apologize, I haven't been doing it as often as I said I would be doing it, but life kind of gets in the way of those things. I do apologize about that. But thank you very much for watching again, and have a great day, guys.